Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Billy Joel's 1974 album, Streetlife Serenade. It's good, not really a great follow-up to his really good 1973 album Piano Man, which is outstanding, but still pretty good. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks added to my playlist, 5 out of 10, so exactly half here. This album is good, but at least half the songs are kind of disappointing, and the album construction is not great. Side 2 is significantly better than side 1, and The Entertainer should really be the opening track, or at least in the first 3. The first 3 tracks of the album are all slow, and the album doesn't really get going until Root Beer Rag, and that's an instrumental track, so it also doesn't really feel right until the beginning of side 2. Side 2 is actually pretty decent. If they had just switched them, I think it would make the album significantly better. Since side 1 is pretty much just slow ballads, having it be the sort of slow down to the end would have been made a lot more sense than starting off slow and then going into sort of mid-speed stuff later. Still, I must admit that the Mexican Connection is a pretty good closing track, and although half the songs here aren't great, they are still relatively interesting. Side 1's still interesting sounding, even though it's not really that good. There's enough good stuff here overall that the album is still good, but it's close. If you remove something like The Entertainer or Weekend Song, then the album is majorly harmed. It's not really that good anymore. There were no singles released before the album, as far as I could tell, and the only big hit here was The Entertainer, which is also my favorite track, and definitely the best one on the album by a long shot. Root Beer Rag is also an interesting one, but as an instrumental, it doesn't really have the same sound. There's a bunch of songs here that are kind of super niche tracks. I ranked this album 9th out of Billy Joel's 13 albums, so in the bottom third. This is definitely not one of his better albums, but it does have a pretty unique sound since it's really slow overall. Plus, it has a couple of tracks which are some of his greatest hits. The Entertainer is as good as anything else he's ever done. So it does end up beating out some of his late 80s work, in my opinion. In some ways, this is just a higher quality version of his debut album, Cold Spring Harbor, so it goes right above it in the rankings, although it does have a very different sound. Both Streetlife Serenade and Cold Spring Harbor sound really different from a lot of his other stuff, and it doesn't really come together well with those two. For some of his other albums, it comes together a lot better. All the albums below this one have some issues, and all the albums above this one generally come together well. Something like An Innocent Man is roughly a similar level of quality to Streetlife, but definitely comes together a lot better. Additionally, this is not my favorite album from 1974. That goes to Queen's Sheer Heart Attack, which is just a really great album that definitely is a lot more consistent than Streetlife Serenade. So, yeah, that one's definitely a step above. So, thank you for watching. Next up is Lunar Vacation's brand new album, Everything Matters, Everything's Fire, to be released September 13th, so not yet. I'm excited to listen to it. I've been keeping up with the singles released beforehand, and it sounds like it'll be pretty good, so stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.